Sarah Chen yawned as she poured her morning coffee. It was just another Tuesday in New York City. The sun peeked through the gaps between skyscrapers, painting the kitchen in streaks of gold. Sarah checked her phone, scrolling through news headlines and social media updates. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. The screen went black, then lit up with a single word: run. Sarah blinked, confused. Was this some kind of joke? She tapped the screen, but nothing happened. The words stayed there, ominous and unchanging. Outside, car horns started blaring. Sarah rushed to her window. On the street below, people were getting out of their cars, staring at their phones in disbelief. A man in a business suit shouted, "What does it mean? What's happening?" Sarah's TV turned on by itself. Every channel showed the same thing. Run. Her laptop, her tablet, even her smart fridge, all displayed the same message. Panic began to set in. Sarah's hands shook as she tried to call her parents, but the phone wouldn't connect. She ran out of her apartment, joining the growing crowd on the street. All around the world, the same scene played out. In Tokyo, millions of screens in Shibuya Crossing flashed the warning. In London, the famous electronic billboards of Piccadilly Circus all changed to show the three-letter message. Even in remote villages without electricity, old radios crackled to life with a voice repeating, "Run, run, run." Back in New York, Sarah found herself swept up in a tide of confused and frightened people. She overheard snippets of conversation. Is it terrorists? Maybe it's a government warning. Could it be aliens? That last word sent a chill down Sarah's spine. She had always believed there was life out there in the universe, but she never imagined first contact would be like this. As the day wore on, the initial panic gave way to an uneasy calm. The message remained, but nothing else happened. No explosions, no invasions, just those three letters glowing on every screen. World leaders attempted to address their nations, but their broadcasts were interrupted, replaced by the ever-present warning. Military forces around the globe were put on high alert, but they had no enemy to fight, no threat to face. Scientists worked around the clock, trying to trace the source of the message. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, defying the laws of physics as humans understood them. Social media exploded with theories and speculation. Some people claimed it was an elaborate prank. Others saw it as a sign from God. Doomsday cults gained thousands of new followers overnight. As night fell, Sarah found herself in Central Park with a group of strangers. They had gravitated there, drawn by a need for open space and the company of others. Someone had started a bonfire, and people huddled around it, sharing food and stories. An old man with wild gray hair stood up and addressed the group. "I've been watching the stars for 50 years, he said, his voice trembling with excitement and fear. "Tonight, they're different. Look up." Sarah and the others craned their necks. At first, she didn't notice anything unusual, but then she saw it. The stars were moving. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, but definitely moving. A woman gasped, "It's a ship. My God, it's huge." As Sarah's eyes adjusted, she could make out the shape. It wasn't just one ship, but many. Massive structures, blocking out entire constellations as they approached Earth. The old man spoke again, his voice barely a whisper. "They're here. That's why we were told to run." A child tugged on Sarah's sleeve. "Where can we run to?" he asked, his eyes wide with fear. Sarah didn't have an answer. How do you run from something that can cross the vastness of space? Where do you hide when your entire planet is under threat? As if in response to the unspoken questions, every device lit up again. This time, the message was longer. "People of Earth, we are the Galactic Empire. Your planet is now under our control. Resistance is futile. Surrender or be annihilated." Sarah felt a strange calm settle over her. The universe had just gotten a lot bigger and a lot more dangerous. But as she looked around at the determined faces of her fellow humans, she knew one thing for certain. They wouldn't go down without a fight. The world held its breath as the alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere. Their massive forms blocked out the sun, casting long shadows over cities and landscapes. People everywhere stared up at the sky, a mix of fear and awe on their faces. Sarah Chen found herself in the middle of Times Square, surrounded by a sea of people. The usual bright advertisements were gone, replaced by the stern message from the Galactic Empire. The crowd was eerily quiet, everyone waiting to see what would happen next. Suddenly, a beam of light shot down from the largest ship. It hit the ground in the center of Times Square, expanding into a large circle. The crowd backed away, leaving an empty space around the light. A figure began to form within the beam. As it solidified, Sarah could make out its shape. It was tall, at least 8 feet, with 4 arms and skin that shimmered like polished metal. Its head was elongated, with 3 large black eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. The alien raised one of its upper arms, and a voice boomed out, seemingly coming from everywhere at once. "People of Earth," it said, the words somehow perfectly understandable despite the creature's alien mouth. "I am Zortak, representative of the Galactic Empire. Your planet is now under our control." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Sarah felt her heart racing, but she couldn't look away from the alien figure. Zortak continued, "For too long, your species has been a threat to galactic peace. Your violence, your unpredictability, your rapid technological advancement, all of these make you too dangerous to be allowed to join the wider galaxy." Around the world, similar scenes played out. In every major city, alien representatives appeared, all delivering the same message. Humanity was being judged and found wanting. "We have observed your wars, your cruelty to each other and to your planet," Zortak said. "We have seen your fiction, your dreams of conquering the stars. The Galactic Empire has decided that the risk you pose is too great." A chill ran down Sarah's spine as she realized what was coming next. "Therefore," Zortak announced, its voice devoid of emotion, "we have no choice but to eliminate the human race." Chaos erupted in Times Square. People screamed, pushed, and ran in all directions. But Sarah stood her ground, her mind racing. This couldn't be the end. There had to be something they could do. As if reading her thoughts, Zortak spoke again. "Resistance is futile. Our technology is far beyond anything you can imagine. For your own sake, accept your fate with dignity." Just then, a rock flew through the air, hitting Zortak squarely in the head. The alien stumbled, clearly surprised by the attack. "Go back to where you came from," the voice shouted. Sarah turned to see a young man, his face a mask of defiance, ready to throw another rock. Zortak's eyes narrowed. "So be it," it said coldly. "You have chosen the hard way." The beam of light intensified, and Zortak vanished. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the ground shook as explosions rocked the city. Sarah looked up to see smaller ships descending from the mothership, firing energy beams that sliced through buildings like they were made of paper. The attack had begun. All around her, people were running, screaming, trying to find shelter. But Sarah's mind was already shifting gears. They needed to fight back. But how? She grabbed the arm of the young man who had thrown the rock. "We need to organize," she said urgently. "Spread the word. Tell people to gather whatever weapons they can find. We're not going down without a fight." The man nodded, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. As he ran off to spread the message, Sarah looked around, her mind racing. They needed a plan, a way to coordinate their efforts. Her eyes fell on the giant screens in Times Square, now dark after displaying the alien message. If they could hack into those, they could communicate with the whole city. As Sarah ran towards the nearest building with a control room, dodging debris and energy blasts, she felt a strange mix of fear and determination. The aliens might have advanced technology, but they had underestimated the human spirit. The war for Earth had begun, and despite the odds, Sarah knew one thing for certain. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. The Galactic Empire's attack on Earth was swift and brutal. Within hours, major cities around the world lay in ruins. The aliens' advanced weapons cut through human defenses like a hot knife through butter. But something unexpected was happening. Humanity was fighting back, and with surprising effectiveness. In New York, Sarah Chen had managed to rally a group of survivors. They had taken over a partially destroyed skyscraper, turning it into a makeshift command center. Using hacked billboards and jerry-rigged communication devices, they coordinated resistance efforts across the city. They're moving towards Central Park, a young hacker named Miguel reported, his eyes glued to a computer screen. Looks like they're setting up some kind of base there. Sarah nodded, her mind racing. We need to slow them down. Any ideas? An old construction worker named Frank spoke up. The subway tunnels. We could collapse them, make it harder for those alien bastards to move around. Sarah's eyes lit up. It was a risky plan, but it just might work. Okay, Frank. Take a team and get it done. Be careful down there. As Frank and his team left, Sarah turned her attention to another pressing issue: weapons. The aliens' energy shields made most human weapons useless. But a group of scientists and engineers were working on a solution. Dr. Emily Wong, a physicist who had been working at Columbia University before the invasion, approached Sarah with excitement in her eyes. "We've figured it out," she said breathlessly. "Their shields operate on a specific frequency. If we can match that frequency and reverse it, we can create a destructive interference pattern." Sarah blinked, trying to understand. "In English, Doc?" Emily grinned. "We can make their shields useless. Even better, we can turn their own energy against them." This was the breakthrough they needed. Sarah quickly organized teams to gather the necessary materials and start producing these new shield busters. Meanwhile, across the globe, similar scenes of resistance were playing out. In Tokyo, a group of gamers had repurposed VR technology to control drones, using them to spy on alien movements. In Rio de Janeiro, carnival performers used their acrobatic skills to stage daring raids on alien supply lines. In Nairobi, wildlife conservationists turned their animal tracking skills to hunting alien patrols. The Galactic Empire was puzzled by this turn of events. Their intelligence had suggested that humans would be easy to conquer. Instead, they found themselves facing a species that refused to give up, that adapted quickly, and that seemed to thrive in the face of overwhelming odds. Back in New York, Sarah's team put their plan into action. As a group of alien soldiers marched down Fifth Avenue, the ground suddenly collapsed beneath them, sending them tumbling into the subway tunnels below. Before they could recover, a team of humans armed with the new shield busters attacked, taking down the aliens with their own energy weapons. News of the victory spread quickly, boosting morale among the resistance fighters. But Sarah knew they couldn't celebrate yet. This was just one small win in what would be a long and difficult war. As night fell, Sarah stood on the roof of their base, looking out over the battered but unbroken city. The alien ships still loomed overhead, a constant reminder of the threat they faced. But for the first time since the invasion began, she felt a glimmer of hope. A young resistance fighter joined her on the roof. "Do you think we can really win this?" he asked, his voice a mix of fear and hope. Sarah turned to him, her eyes reflecting the determination that had made her a leader in this crisis. "I don't know if we can win," she said honestly, "but I know we're not going to lose without giving them one hell of a fight." As if in response to her words, explosions lit up the sky as human fighters engaged alien craft. The battle for Earth was far from over. The Galactic Empire had started this war expecting an easy victory. Instead, they were learning a harsh lesson: never underestimate the human spirit. Sarah's comm device crackled to life. "We've got movement in the harbor," Miguel's voice came through. "Looks like they're bringing in reinforcements." Sarah took a deep breath. The night was far from over, and tomorrow would bring new challenges. But as she headed back down to the command center, She felt a fierce pride in her fellow humans. They had been pushed to the brink, and they had not broken. Instead, they had found strength they never knew they had. The war continued, with humanity proving to be a far more formidable opponent than the Galactic Empire had ever imagined. As weeks turned into months, the war between humanity and the Galactic Empire raged on. The aliens had expected a quick victory, but instead found themselves locked in a grueling conflict. Humans, it turned out, had some unique qualities that made them formidable opponents. Sarah Chen stood in the underground war room, surrounded by a diverse group of individuals. Scientists, soldiers, artists, and ordinary citizens all worked together, each bringing their own skills to the fight. This, Sarah realized, was humanity's greatest strength, their ability to adapt, create, and work as a team. "We've cracked their communication system," announced Raj, a former IT specialist. He pointed to a screen filled with strange symbols. "It's not a language as we understand it. It's more like music." Dr. Emily Wong nodded excitedly. "That makes sense. Their biology is so different from ours. They might perceive sound as we perceive light." Sarah's mind raced with the possibilities. "Can we use this to our advantage?" A composer named Maria stepped forward. "If their communication is music-based, maybe we can disrupt it. Create discordant sounds that confuse or disorient them." The room buzzed with excitement as people from different backgrounds combined their knowledge to form a plan. This was the human advantage in action, creativity born from diversity. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, human soldiers were learning to use captured alien technology. What had once seemed impossibly advanced was slowly revealing its secrets. Captain Jake Rodriguez led a team equipped with reverse-engineered alien weapons. "Remember," he told his squad, "these things think in straight lines. They don't expect us to be unpredictable. Use that." As if to demonstrate, Jake suddenly changed direction, confusing the alien patrol they were facing. His team struck from multiple angles, taking down the enemies before they could react. Back in the war room, Sarah received reports of similar successes from around the world. Humans were adapting to alien tactics faster than the Galactic Empire could develop new ones. But the aliens weren't giving up. They launched a massive attack on New York, hoping to crush the heart of the resistance. Sarah rushed to the roof of their base, watching in horror as dozens of alien ships descended on the city. But then she saw something that made her heart soar. Human fighters rising to meet them, using a mix of Earth aircraft and captured alien vessels. The sky lit up with explosions as the battle raged. Human pilots, trained in video games and flight simulators, pulled off maneuvers that the alien ships couldn't match. They darted between buildings, used the city itself as a weapon, luring alien craft into traps. On the ground, resistance fighters put their plan into action. Massive speakers blasted carefully composed music that scrambled alien communications. Confused and disoriented, the invaders found themselves easy targets for human counterattacks. As the battle turned in humanity's favor, Sarah couldn't help but smile. The Galactic Empire had made a crucial mistake. They had judged humanity by its technology, not by its spirit. In their command ship high above Earth, the alien leaders watched in disbelief as their forces were pushed back. "How is this possible?" demanded the Supreme Commander. "They are primitives compared to us." A junior officer hesitated before speaking. "Sir, I've been studying them. These humans, they're different from any species we encountered. They don't just adapt, they thrive on challenge. The more we push them, the stronger they become." The Supreme Commander's eyes narrowed. For the first time, a flicker of doubt crossed its alien features. Back on Earth, Sarah stood amidst the ruins of New York, watching as human and captured alien ships chased the retreating invaders. A cheer went up from the crowds in the streets. But Sarah knew this was just one battle. The war was far from over. The Galactic Empire still had vast resources at its disposal. Yet something had changed. Humanity had proven itself not just to the aliens, but to itself. As the sun set on the battered but unbroken city, Sarah felt a surge of pride. Whatever came next, she knew one thing for certain. Humanity would face it together, with all the creativity, adaptability, and determination that made them unique in the galaxy. The human advantage was real, and it was powerful. The Galactic Empire was about to learn just how dangerous it could be to underestimate the human race. The war had been raging for nearly a year. Earth was scared, its cities in ruins, but humanity refused to give up. In secret bases around the world, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to develop new weapons and defenses against the alien threat. Sarah Chen stood in a hidden laboratory deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around her, a team of the world's brightest minds put the finishing touches on humanity's latest creation. "Is it ready?" Sarah asked, her voice tense with anticipation. Dr. Emily Wong nodded, her eyes shining with pride. "We call it the Pulse. It's a combination of our technology and what we've learned from the aliens. When activated, it should disable their shields and weapon systems." Sarah's heart raced. This could be the breakthrough they needed. But there was a catch. The Pulse had to be activated from the aliens' main ship. "We need a team to infiltrate their mothership," Sarah announced to the gathered leaders. "It's a suicide mission, but it might be our only chance to turn this war around." Silence fell over the room. Then, a familiar voice spoke up. "I'll lead the mission." It was Jake Rodriguez, the captain who had become a hero in the early days of the war. Sarah nodded, grateful but worried. "Assemble your team, Jake. We strike in 48 hours. As preparations for the mission began, word spread through the resistance. A plan was taking shape, a coordinated global attack to coincide with the activation of the Pulse. In Africa, Amara Okik led a team preparing a fleet of retrofitted alien fighters. In Asia, Li Jinho oversaw the production of thousands of shield-busting weapons. And in Europe, Sophia Müller coordinated with hackers worldwide to launch a massive cyber attack on alien systems. The day of the attack arrived. Sarah stood in the command center, watching as Jake's team boarded a captured alien shuttle. Her heart was heavy. She knew many of them might not return. "Good luck," she said over the comm. "The hopes of humanity go with you." As Jake's team launched towards the alien mothership, resistance fighters around the world moved into position. The largest coordinated attack in human history was about to begin. At first, things went according to plan. Jake's team managed to dock with the mothership, disguised as a returning patrol. They fought their way through the alien corridors, losses mounting with each step. But then, disaster struck. Jake was hit, the device carrying the Pulse damaged in the firefight. As he lay dying, he turned to his second-in-command. "Sarah," he gasped into his comm, "the device is damaged. We can't activate it remotely." Sarah's blood ran cold. Without the Pulse, the attack would fail. Earth's last, best hope would be lost. In that moment, Sarah made a decision. "Hold your position," she ordered. "I'm coming up." Ignoring the protests of her advisors, Sarah raced to the launch bay. She knew the risks. She had never flown one of the alien crafts in actual combat. But there was no other choice. As Sarah's ship blasted off towards the mothership, the global attack began. Human fighters engaged alien ships in the skies over every continent. On the ground, resistance fighters struck at alien bases with their new weapons. Sarah's journey to the mothership was a nightmare of laser fire and near misses. But finally, she made it, docking at the bay Jake's team had secured. Racing through the alien corridors, Sarah found Jake's team, battered but still fighting. She grabbed the Pulse device, her hands working quickly to repair it. "Activating now," she shouted, pressing the final sequence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a wave of energy pulsed out from the device. All around them, alien systems began to fail. Across the Earth, alien ships fell from the sky. Their weapons went dead, their shields failed. For the first time since the war began, humanity had the upper hand. In the mothership, Sarah and the surviving members of Jake's team fought their way to an escape pod. As they blasted away from the failing alien vessel, Sarah looked back at Earth. The planet was still scared, still wounded, but now, for the first time in a year, there was real hope. Humanity had stood together, had fought with everything they had, and had turned the tide of an impossible war. As her pod streaked towards Earth, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The war wasn't over. The Galactic Empire surely had more forces elsewhere. But today, humanity had proven something to the galaxy and to themselves. They would not go quietly. They would not surrender. And together, they just might win this war. The activation of the pulse had turned the tide of the war, but the Galactic Empire was far from defeated. As Earth celebrated its first major victory, alien reinforcements were already on their way. The final battle for humanity's survival was about to begin. Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the U.S. Hope, Earth's first true spaceship. Built using a combination of human ingenuity and reverse-engineered alien technology, it represented humanity's best chance in the coming fight. "Report," Sarah commanded, her eyes fixed on the main view screen. "Ma'am, we're detecting a massive fleet approaching from the direction of Mars," replied Lai Wei, the ship's sensor officer. "It looks like they've been using the Red Planet as a staging ground." Sarah's jaw tightened. This was it, the decisive confrontation they had been preparing for. "Send word to all Earth forces," she ordered. "The final battle begins now." As the message went out, ships began to rise from Earth, a mix of retrofitted alien craft and hastily constructed human vessels. It was a ragtag fleet, but it carried the hopes and determination of every person on the planet. The two fleets met in the space between Earth and Mars. The Galactic Empire's ships were sleek and powerful, their weapons capable of destroying planets. In contrast, the human fleet looked cobbled together, a mix of styles and technologies. But appearances could be deceiving. As the alien fleet opened fire, the human ships demonstrated a level of agility and unpredictability that caught their opponents off guard. "Evasive maneuvers," Sarah shouted as energy beams lanced past the Hope. "Return fire with everything we've got." The space between the planets lit up with explosions and weapons fire. Human pilots, many trained in video games and simulations, pulled off maneuvers that the aliens had never seen before. They looped and spun, using asteroids as cover, and striking from unexpected angles. On the alien flagship, the Supreme Commander watched in growing frustration. "How are they doing this?" it demanded. "Their technology is inferior." A junior officer spoke up hesitantly. "Sir, it's not just their technology. They're fighting in ways we've never seen. Each ship seems to be acting independently, but somehow they're all working together perfectly." Back on the Hope, Sarah was coordinating the most complex military operation in human history. Ships from different countries, speaking different languages, were fighting as one unified force. "Group A, flank their left side," Sarah ordered. "Group B, prepare for the Zerg Rush maneuver." The human fleet split apart, then came back together in a dizzying array of formations. The alien ships, used to fighting enemies that used predictable tactics, found themselves constantly wrong-footed. But the battle was far from one-sided. Alien weapons tore through human ships, vaporizing them in instants. The space around Mars was becoming a graveyard for both sides. As the battle raged on, Sarah received a transmission from Earth. Dr. Emily Wong's face appeared on the screen, excitement clear in her eyes. "Sarah, we've done it. We've cracked their main computer systems. We can shut down their entire fleet." Sarah's heart raced. This could be the key to victory. But there was a catch. Someone would need to get aboard the alien flagship to upload the virus. Without hesitation, Sarah made her decision. "I'm going in," she announced to her stunned crew. "Continue the attack. Keep them distracted." Using a small, stealthy craft, Sarah approached the massive alien flagship. The battle raging around her provided the perfect cover. With a combination of skill and luck, she managed to dock undetected. Fighting her way through the alien corridors, Sarah finally reached the main computer core. As she uploaded the virus, alarms blared throughout the ship. She had been detected. Come on, Sarah muttered, watching the upload progress bar slowly fill. Around her, she could hear the sound of alien troops approaching. Just as the door to the computer core began to melt under alien weapons fire, the upload completed. Sarah hit the activation key and braced herself. All across the battlefield, alien ships suddenly went dark. Their weapons powered down, their engines failed. The mighty Galactic Empire fleet was reduced to floating hulks. As cheers erupted across the human fleet, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Against all odds, they had done it. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged victorious. But as she made her way back to her ship, Sarah knew that this wasn't the end. It was a new beginning. Humanity had proven itself on a galactic stage. The stars, once thought to be full of threats, now beckoned with the promise of exploration and discovery. The war was over. The future was just beginning. The dust of the final battle had settled, and Earth was victorious. The Galactic Empire's fleet hung motionless in space, defeated by human ingenuity and determination. As news of the victory spread across the planet, celebrations erupted in every city, town, and village. Sarah Chen stood before the United Nations General Assembly, now representing not just Earth, but humanity as a whole. The room was packed with leaders from every nation, all eyes fixed on the woman who had led them to an impossible victory. Today, Sarah began, her voice carrying across the hushed chamber. We stand at the dawn of a new era. We have faced our greatest challenge and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. As Sarah spoke, screams around the world showed the aftermath of the war. Alien ships were being carefully landed and studied. Human scientists worked side by side with engineers to unlock the secrets of advanced technology. The Galactic Empire sought to destroy us, Sarah continued. Instead, they have given us the stars. In orbit, construction had already begun on Earth's first true space station. It would serve as a stepping stone for humanity's journey into the cosmos. But the path forward was not without challenges. As Sarah left the UN building, she was met by Dr. Emily Wong, concern etched on her face. We've decrypted more of the alien databases, Emily said, falling into step beside Sarah. The Galactic Empire. It's vast. What we fought was just a small expeditionary force. Sarah nodded grimly. She had suspected as much. Then we need to be ready, she said, not just to defend ourselves, but to take our place in the galactic community. Over the next few months, the world transformed at an unprecedented pace. Nations that had once been enemies now worked together, united by their shared experience. The technology salvaged from the alien fleet accelerated human development by centuries. In a sprawling facility in the Sahara Desert, Jake Rodriguez, now recovered from his injuries, oversaw the training of Earth's first interstellar explorers. Remember, he told the eager recruits, out there, we're all human. Earth is our home, but the galaxy is our frontier. Meanwhile, in laboratories around the world, scientists made breakthrough after breakthrough. Clean energy, advanced medicine, faster than light communication. The flood of new discoveries was overwhelming. But perhaps the most significant change was in how humanity saw itself. The war had proven that when united, there was no challenge too great to overcome. 6 months after the final battle, Sarah stood on the bridge of a new ship, the ESS Unity. It was the first vessel built by humans capable of interstellar travel. As she looked out at the stars, Sarah felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. All systems are go, reported Lai Wei, now the Unity's first officer. We're ready to make the jump to hyperspace. Sarah took a deep breath. This was the moment humanity had been building towards. With this journey, they would take their first steps into the wider galaxy. Send a message to Earth, Sarah said. The Unity is about to depart. We go forward not in search of conquest, but of knowledge and friendship. As the message was sent, Sarah thought about how far they had come. From a species on the brink of extinction to one ready to explore the cosmos. The war had been devastating, but it had also revealed the best of humanity. Their creativity, their resilience, and their ability to unite in the face of overwhelming odds. "Initiate hyperspace jump," Sarah commanded. The stars outside the view screen stretched into lines, then vanished as the Unity leaped into hyperspace. Humanity's great adventure was just beginning. Back on Earth, in a small classroom in New York City, a young teacher stood before a group of wide-eyed children. On the wall behind her, a new map of the galaxy showed Earth not at the center, but as part of a vast, interconnected cosmos. "Class," the teacher said with a smile, "today we're going to learn about our place in the galaxy." It all started with a warning. Run. But instead of running, we stood our ground. And in doing so, we found our place among the stars. As the children leaned forward, eager to hear the story, the teacher began to tell the tale of how humanity faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger than ever before. The Galactic Empire had sought to end humanity's story. Instead, they had only written its first chapter. The rest of the tale was yet to be written, and it promised to be an adventure beyond imagination.